Many of us have run from these type of books because of the doctrine that has been wrapped around the actual ancestral story. Many of us run to it because of the doctrine that has been wrapped around our ancestral story, and you don't realize, and many of us can't see what this text is actually talking about. And the reason why we can't see it is because we've been put under the spell of indoctrination. And we're so used to practicing doctrines that we can't detect nor discern the difference between a doctrine and our ancestral story. See, when I was in elementary school, it was very difficult for me to connect to the curriculum outside of reading, writing, and math. Just the act of reading, writing, and math. Whenever they started to try to teach me history, my soul and my spirit felt disconnected. And I'm talking about all the way from kindergarten and first grade and second grade, something new in me that what they were telling me and teaching me was not true. See, we've had indoctrination, we've had doctrines being taught to us from the time we were babies. Many of us that were born in the 80s and before, and even in the 90s and before, many of us were under the spell of indoctrination, even in our education experience. In the 80s and in the 90s, they were still teaching us that Columbus discovered America. But it was a doctrine, it wasn't education. And we had to take tests, and we would pass the test or fail the test based on the correct answer, not knowing that we were learning an indoctrination, a doctrine. So many of us can't discern the difference between a doctrine and an ancestral story. So we just put it down altogether because we know our spirit is telling us something isn't right, but we can't put our finger on it. We notice that when we sit in the pews on Sunday and on Saturdays, that something feels familiar about the story, but something feels off about the doctrine. Because we can't discern the difference between doctrine and ancestral story. We're at a critical point in history, for lack of better words, where it is important that we reconnect to our divine identity. And we begin to remember who we were so that we know who we are. See, many of us are trying on a weekly basis and on a monthly basis to push ourselves to be motivated to participate in a system that is disconnected from our divine spiritual disposition. And we think something is wrong with us, and we've accepted labels given to us by the system because something in us, I'm not talking about laziness. I'm not talking about the lack of the willingness to work. I'm talking about those of us who work hard daily. I'm talking about for those of us who lose sleep, who push on a weekly basis to provide for our families and to do our best to serve our communities. Something, though, is off, and we have not been able to figure it out. And no one wants to tell you that there's been an indoctrination that doesn't agree with your spirit. So you're in a system, but you notice you're not of the system. And now, just like our ancestors, even when they were in circumstances where a system wasn't in agreement with their divine disposition, They begin to build out an environment that matched their spirit. And it is time for us to begin to build first within our spirit, first within our identity, first within our spirituality. And that foundation will cause us to be able to unlock systems such as commonwealth economic systems, such as love systems that can create families again. Systems that will help us to begin to operate in engineering that doesn't harm the earth, but helps the earth. Systems that reconnect us to the ancestral realm in a way where we're so aware of it that it's no different than a third dimensional being, a person sitting next to you, standing next to you, who you can see, who you can feel, who you can hear breathing, who you can feel the aura of their energy, that the access to the ancestral realm will be just as strong because we've reconnected to who we are. These are the keys to the doors we must unlock in 2024 and beyond if we're going to overcome the circumstances that are starting to unfold and take our positions as influencers, not just from an internet perspective, but from a world perspective. There are people in the melanated indigenous community that are destined to be world leaders in the political realm, in the business realm, in the medical field, in the financial field. You are gifted in the entertainment realm. You are gifted with something special, but your ancestors are waiting for you to reconnect to who you really are. In 2024, we must reconnect to our divine ancestral spirituality. Look for the next video.